last Sunday whether you did read Amos during the week. But in order that you may have a chance to redeem yourself, we will be discussing Hosea next Sunday. So you have another chance. I'd like to read just a little of Amos for atmosphere. So now I will deal with you, O Israel. Since thus I deal with you, prepare to meet your God. For it is he who forms the mountains and creates the wind and reveals his inner mind to no man. He who makes the dawn and darkness, who marches over the heights of earth, his name is the Eternal, God of hosts. He it is who made the Pleiades and Orion, who turns black darkness into dawn and darkens day again into night, who summons floods and pours them on the earth. His name, the Eternal. He flashes ruin on the mighty till their forts fall to the ground. Your sacred festivals, I hate them. Your sacrifices, I will not smell their smoke. You offer me your gifts, I will not take them. You offer fatted cattle, I will not look at them. No more of your hymns for me, I will not listen to your lutes. No, let justice well up like fresh water. Let honesty roll in full tide. Then another little place. Then the Lord Eternal showed me this, a basket of ripe fruit. Then said he, Amos, what do you see? A basket of ripe fruit, said I. And the Eternal said to me, so is the doom ripe for my people Israel. Listen to this, you men who crush the humble and oppress the poor, muttering, when will the new moon be over that we may sell our grain? When will the Sabbath be over that our corn may go on sale? Small you make your measures, large your weights. You cheat by tampering with the scales. And all to buy up innocent folk, to buy the needy for a pair of shoes, to sell the very refuse of your grain. The Eternal has sworn by the pride of Jacob, never will I forget what you have done. Amos is the first of the writing prophets, and his period is a little beyond the middle of the 8th century. He was a shepherd and a cultivator of rather specialized mulberry fruit trees. And as a shepherd, he was psychologically much more independent of the group folk mind than was characteristic of those persons who were farmers and who were bound, were tied to the soil. It would be a very interesting thing if we had time to trace it this morning, the influence on the history, on the fate of civilizations growing out of the particular kind of social background and orientation to which pivotal personalities in human history have been exposed. For instance, it is a very extraordinary thing that one of the centrally decisive factors separating Jesus of Nazareth from Paul of Tarsus was the fact that Paul was a city man and Jesus was a rural man. It's very interesting. We can work that to death, but just work it a little bit. And you can get some very interesting insight from it. So that a man who lives on a farm, whose fathers before him were there, and for generations this plot has been the place where the family has lived, and where the children were born, and where they were buried, and where there were marriages and all the other things, the whole life tied there. It is very difficult for such persons to think of themselves as being individuals. They define the significance of their lives in terms of the group, the rather narrow limitations of the family group and its rootage. And of course, it is not an accident that no great sense of burning justice has arisen from the prophets whose backgrounds were defined primarily in terms of their being wedded to the soil. For you see, you have to become self-conscious. You have to be conscious of yourself before you become aware of injustice to yourself. Well, you didn't see that. If I have no sense of self-consciousness, if I have no self-awareness, if to me I am not an individual, then I cannot be aware of what is happening to me as an individual. But the degree to which I become self-conscious in that sense, to that degree are there exposures in my mind and personality to the things that happen to me. Before that, they happen to the clan. It is with reference to the clan that this or that takes place. We see it in Israel. I'm spending too much time on this, but we see it in the development of Israel. Here's a man who goes out to battle, and he's ordered not to steal any of the things that he finds on the people who've been killed, and he comes across something, let us say a pretty pair of earrings or something. He says, well, that won't make any difference. So he hides that in his saddlebag and goes on. Nobody will miss that. But because he does it, the whole clan suffers. He doesn't suffer as such, except as he's a part of the clan. And we will watch, as we study these prophets, we'll watch the emergence of a sense of personal responsibility that cannot be present where there is no sense of persona, no personhood. Well, there's much more to say about that, but let's go on with Amos. Amos has some visions He's taking care of his sheep, long watches of the night, thinking about a lot of things. And one of the things that he begins thinking about is how God, how Jehovah seems to be involved in the life of everybody, all the nations. It's not unreasonable that a shepherd who has a primary and sustained exposure to the stars would begin to feel that he is directly related, that all of life, all living things, all the vastness of the universe is under one comprehensive judgment of a universal God. It isn't so difficult for him to arrive at that judgment in the solitariness of his long watches. At any rate, Amos thinks about Tyre and all of the other countries around, and they are under the judgment of Jehovah. And if they are under the judgment of Jehovah because Jehovah is the eternal and is the ground of all life and activity and is the creator of all of life, Israel is in some unique way under the judgment of Jehovah because Israel knows that it is under the judgment of Jehovah. The others are under the judgment but don't know it. And that knowledge gives to Israel a sense of responsibility. It should give to Israel a sense of responsibility that may not be present in the other nations. So that we see emerging in Amos the thing that will follow us down to latest times, that the measure of a man's moral responsibility is somehow connected. We do not know in detail how, but is somehow connected with the knowledge, with the opportunity, with the exposure that he has to the truth. Now, he comes into town to sell his goods, maybe some wool or something, and he's from Judah, you see, but he comes up to Israel because Israel is very flourishing, and that's where the money is. I mean, that's where they've been doing all these things to get the money, robbing people and squeezing the life out of the poor, shortchanging people, and putting extra weights and cutting down on the amount, and where the women, it's very interesting, he calls these rich, leisurely ladies, he calls them cows of Bashan. You know, they are high-bred cows, well-bred, blooded cows, and they express the intensity of their position by keeping fires built under their husbands, so that their husbands will be driven more and more to squeeze more and more to satisfy more and more. And he watches this. And he's disturbed. And then he goes back. Doesn't prophesy this first time. He just goes back with all these things burning in his mind. I wonder if they don't understand what they're doing. Perhaps they don't understand. I don't know. And then his visions come. He doesn't prophesy until he gets his visions. And we may speak of the visions anyway we wish, but I'd like to point out one or two of them and then go on to the basic idea and tie it up, and I'll be through. Here's a vision of a basket of summer fruit. Isn't it a basket of summer fruit? I mean, it's the last go-round of the fruit. Israel is a basket of summer fruit that's nearly dead now. This is the last chance. Then he has another vision, a vision of Israel, of God standing at the altar, carrying out judgment against the nations of the earth. And his judgment against Israel is far more devastating than his judgment against the others, because Israel has had a larger opportunity. He comes back to that again and again. And because Israel has had a large opportunity, judgment is more severe. Israel cannot say, but we didn't know. Israel cannot plead ignorance. It cannot plead limited opportunity. It can only say, we said no to life. So God in this vision hounds Israel, and of course Israel tries to hide. And Israel can't hide. They run up on the mountain, he pulls them down there, and they go down in hell, and he picks them up. It's an echo of the 139th Psalm there. And then they get down in the sea, and there he lets a serpent chew them. And then he defines it more in detail a little later on. A man, Israel is like a man who flees from a lion and runs into a bear. Now Amos takes that figure, that thing that belongs to the very heartbeat of the people, and this is the genius of the prophet, you see. He doesn't bring something way out from, but he takes this thing that is a part of the indigenous ground of the life of the people, the very warp and woof of their thinking and feeling, thing they've worked over and worried over and believed in. He takes that and throws the shaft of the divine light upon it, and it becomes something transcendent that they'd never seen before. So he takes this day of Yahweh and said, yes, there is a day of Yahweh. It is coming. Of course it's coming. But when the day of Yahweh comes, you will discover that Yahweh has kept books, not only on the people who've been doing things to you, but Yahweh has kept books on you. And what you thought would be a day of light will be a day of darkness. For there is no escape. Now, what does all this mean? It means simply this: that it is so easy for people who are religious, or for people who are secure in the pattern of their culture or their nation or their society to feel that because of the favorable position in which they are located at a particular time interval in history, that the things, the judgments that apply to people who are not as favorably located do not apply to them. That I am favorably located because the universe is biased in my favor. That's what they felt then. That's what we feel this morning as we think about the hungry people in India, as we think about the Navajos in Arizona, as you think about South Africa, as you think about Indochina, as you think about Russia, if we have all that we have, clean beds, all the food we can eat and more, power, money, if we have all those things, it must be because we have been favored. That's the most gracious thing we can think, that we have been favored. And then, of course, that raises immediately the question, why have we been favored? And other people haven't been favored. And then we arrive at an inevitable conclusion, perhaps, that we've been favored because we are better. And the universe has discrimination. And it knows what it's doing. And who am I to say that I am not worthy of this if the universe says I am? I mean, I just have one little opinion. I can't do anything about that. So, I'll enjoy it. And what the prophet Amos says, that God holds you responsible. And you can't escape that responsibility, either in fear or in nationalism or any kind of arrogance or pride or might, majesty, strength, or wisdom. You can't escape that responsibility. So, if you try to get away from the lion, you meet the bear. And when you are sure you have escaped the bear, and you are hiding in your little house, protected by your little acre, under the warmth and aegis and security of your little flag, snake bites. And you have to do finally, with ebbing strength and disintegrating powers, what God required you to do initially while your strength was fresh and your vitality was pulsing. Thus says the prophet. And I don't think either God nor human life has changed much since that time.